Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the West Lindsey series. This is one of the 9 districts of Lincolnshire and one of the county's most rural. It has 128 civil parishes. Let's see which one this episode's all about. So today in West Lindsey, I'm going to a place which, technically speaking, doesn't really exist. And that's because most of it is now a deserted medieval village. There are still some properties here. There are some farm buildings and a few isolated houses. However, I'm not totally sure how much of this I'm going to be able to film, because as you can see, I'm sat at an entrance to what I believe is a private road. I don't know if it is or not, but the way to find out is to go through these gates and find somebody to ask. If I can get through here and get down here, I should be able to get to the medieval settlement. You can quite clearly see it on the map. It's fairly obvious with the earthworks you can see on the overhead image. But I don't know how much else I'll be able to get. This is West Firsby. The West Lindsey series is sponsored by Gainsborough Cycles 01427 617 752. For all your cycling needs, this is your one-stop shop, located at 20 Ropery Road or online at gainsboroughcycles.com. There's a link in the description. Gainsborough Cycles, ask for Trevor Halstead. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Today we're looking at West Firsby, which is perhaps one of the weirdest pieces of local administrative and geographical subdivision you've ever seen. West Firsby effectively doesn't exist. That's not strictly true, because along this road there are some properties, but they're isolated farm buildings. You'd struggle to even classify them as a hamlet. The population here is recorded with neighbouring Spridlington. West Firsby has an eastern counterpart, East Firsby, and both the Firsby settlements used to be separate civil parishes. That was until East Firsby was abolished to enlarge that of West Firsby in 1936. Most of East Firsby village would be absorbed into the parish of Spridlington, with the rest transferring to West Firsby. In the Domesday Book, there is no distinction between the two. It just lists the hamlet of Firsby as one entity seemingly, recording it as Frisebi, stating it had 22 households. It also had 30 acres of meadow and a church, which was located in East Firsby, but that now no longer exists. West Firsby did have the manor house, which was still standing as late as the 1990s, but it fell into disrepair and it was demolished. All this suggests Firsby used to be larger, and it was. The most notable thing West Firsby has now is the site of a deserted medieval village. So just while I'm stuck behind this delivery driver, I will just say that at the moment I haven't seen any signs at all saying that this is a private road, although it clearly is part of Lockwood Estates, because there's a sign at the top that says this is part of Lockwood Estates. But there's no private road sign, so I'm assuming I'm actually okay here. So at the end of the road it brought me to this old farmyard, which it appears you can actually drive through. Now, I have seen farmyards like this before where there's open access through them, and to be fair, the road just looks like it carries on now all the way down towards Spridlington, which is, you know, what it says on the map anyway. But again, no private road signs anywhere. All the gates are open, none of them are locked, there's no private road signs. I do think I'm okay. I purposely though did not turn the camera on in the farmyard, which is just behind these trees, because you never know whether or not it's whether or not it's the done thing to do or not in this situation. Anyway, the medieval settlement, we're virtually at it. So a little further along this road and to the left is where the deserted medieval village of West Firsby is. So I'm going to drive up a bit further, see if we can find an access point towards it and see if we can get some shots of it. So here is where the medieval settlement was at West Firsby. If you look at this on overhead satellite images, this is perhaps one of the best defined there is out there. West Firsby is one of the largest and most complex deserted settlement sites in the area, and it's made up of at least 3 separate units of different periods. West Firsby is mentioned together with East Firsby in 1377, when 25 inhabitants paid tax. The site of the village was described in 1849 as covering some 60 acres. Aerial photographs give some indication of the extent of the site, and this is an excellent example of medieval desertion. The remains of the village are extremely well preserved. Fragments of pottery, some resembling Roman wares, have been found over the whole tract of land. Other finds include a brass cross 3 feet in length. Its decline was already evident in the early 14th century, but it was exacerbated by the Black Death, which continued through the 15th century, resulting in its conversion to sheep grazing. These days, the only population would be the flock of sheep, who seem quite happy to occupy the land. The River Ancombe is down there somewhere too. So we'll continue down this track. It runs all the way to East Firsby, which is within the parish of Spridlington, which is the next episode. I don't know whether it goes all the way without any gates or anything like that, so I might run into trouble, but we'll see. Hopefully I can get through. This one was quite a difficult one to plan, as you can probably imagine. I continued down the track in the hope that I could reach East Firsby from here, and therefore the parish of Spridlington, which is the next episode. The track, although bumpy, wasn't too bad. I will spoil the ending for you now though, I couldn't travel the whole way along it. There's an oil field under the ground within West Firsby's boundaries. That makes sense as we're close to Welton. The wellheads, or nodding donkeys, actually fall within Spridlington though, and they're not on this track. This just continues to the east through some fields. At least the scenery wasn't bad. The only other notable thing I passed would be a small brick building on the right, which was likely some kind of pumping station. Well, there we are guys, that's as far as I can go. That is locked, I can't open it. So I'm going to have to go back the way I came. I didn't know whether or not I'd be able to go all the way through to East Firsby and then into Spridlington from here, but clearly not. So yeah, that's pretty much as I can film. The parish boundaries do cover some stuff that's beyond this. Straight in front of you is a campsite. Lincolnshire Lanes Camp, Glamp and Log is what it's called. I think that's what it's called anyway. Oh, sorry, Lincolnshire Lanes Camp, Glamp and Log cabin site. Couldn't quite read what was on my phone there. So that's there beyond this gate, if you like. But this is as far as I can go with the car, which means I'm going to have to turn round, go back the way I came, and go into Spridlington via a different road. So there you go. There's not much more I can tell you about West Firsby, I'm afraid. That's it. So I'm just going to detach the camera from the mount so you can see me. Hello. So yeah, that's been the parish of West Firsby. A very, very unusual one, I know, but nothing much I can do about it, I'm afraid. It's just the way it is. But at least I've been here and it's got its own episode. If anybody's watching this from Lockwood Estates, or anybody who lives in West Firsby in one of those houses back there, please do let me know if this is a public access road. There are no signs saying that it's private, which tells me that it is a public road, but of course it's not always the case. You never know, so please do let me know if this was indeed legal. I'm hoping it was, and if so, great. It means West Firsby is off the list and I can move on to the next one. Speaking of the next one, it's time to turn this car around if I can and find the road to Spridlington. I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot. This has been the parish of West Firsby, and I'm out. you.